Hello, hello, hello. Oh, look at that. Well, thanks for being here, people. It's post-lunchtime. I hope you had a little bit of food. We're going to talk about sustainability today, and it's obviously a very important topic. Gilad is a new founder of a company that's personally close to my heart. I think there's a lot that you'll discover today that's interesting in terms of the way they look at sustainability. But my name is Raph. I'm the CEO and founder of Startupbootcamp IoT. We look at companies in the world that actually have an impact around and through the eyes of Internet of Things. Been on that stage last year at the same time, different topic, but I'm really glad that we're having Gilad joining us today. So Gilad, do you want to introduce yourself a bit? Who are you and what have you done in the past few years of your life?
Yeah, sure. So very simple, as it was presented this morning, I have big visions. It's just coming in there. So that leads to a purpose. And now, thankfully, I have a great team that helps that to make into a reality.
Good.
In the past, I was an investment banker, and 2008 taught me a lot of lessons, and decided in 2011 to devote my time into serving humanity.
Good. See, he saw the light and went out, so the dark side came back to us. That's good as an entrepreneur. So what do you think your past experience was actually, on what ground is that relevant to what you do today?
Mainly what you learn as you're doing investment banking, you learn a lot about both people. You have to read the people in the room, you have to feel them, you feel their behavior, and that's very important, and of course you understand the economy.
Right. And the economy being a key word, and we'll get to that,
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. So why, because if I understand well, you're based in Latvia, so why Latvia? In for that particular context, I mean.
Honestly saying, I just landed in Latvia like many years ago. Like, I actually came here first time in December 1996, and then moved part-time here in 2000.
Right.
And since then, I just love to be here. And I think that there is a great, and especially what I saw after 2011 is a great community that is being emerged here. Mm-hmm. And there is a great infrastructure to act out of here.
Excellent. So we talked about economy. I think one of the things that we want to be looking at, and it's actually in the title of the session today, is the new economy. So creation of a new economy. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about what you see there?
Absolutely. So the way we look at economy, we're asking ourselves, how can we turn economy into an incentive tools? What are the incentive tools that move people forward rather than punishment tools?
Right.
That's the way of thinking. That's where the whole idea came out from, and especially when it comes to sustainability.
Yeah. So key things, people, is empowering people to understand why sustainable is something we can achieve. But we'll go back to that in a minute. It's basically incentivizing, right? That's
absolutely.
So tell us about Quro. What is it? What's the product?
So Quro is a digital currency, and the Quro is actually being rewarded for every sustainability activity. What we saw in the past is that what actually brought both wind and solar technologies, energies to the world are subsidies.
Right.
So what we decided to do is to subsidize the entire pillars of sustainability. And we do it with a digital currency, non-crypto, sorry. Of course, Quro, non-crypto, there are reasons for that. First of all is we want it to be a transparent currency.
Right.
We want it to be a currency that can actually grow into scale. Mm-hmm. And we want to be able to pay taxes with the Quro. So we will include, and there was a big discussions earlier today, we'll include governments, and we're also actually talking now to the EU. And that's the idea behind it.
So empowerment, enabling people, and inclusion, right? This is
totally.
Okay. We talked about, the first time we met, we talked a lot about the ecosystem. Yeah. And the way you see this evolving since you've started looking into this and where it is today. Do you want to give us a bit of view on that?
Yes, sure. So let me just maybe give example of what practically we're talking about, and that also will help to understand the ecosystem. and the stakeholders. So we're just going to pay a Quro for every 1,000 steps that the person is doing, or 1 Quro for every 1 kilowatt hours, which is produced on rooftop. As simple as that. In order to do that, what we decided to do, we decided to reach out to large population through partners. So for example, in Germany, we partner with Sonnen, one of the largest solar companies in Germany, with 150,000 customers. And through their APIs, we reach out to 150,000 customers very easily. So the stakeholders are the end users,
right,
our partners, and then governments, which will pay to them taxes, and then going back into merchants and corporates in order for large economies, and that's including them, including governments, including cities, actually accepting the Quros, because at the end of the day, money is all about trust, and you build up the value of the money through trust.
The one thing I want to pick on that particular last part of the conversation is, so the trust is obviously a key element to this, because you cannot empower people if they don't feel that they can trust the solution, right?
Correct.
But the one word and all that we talked about that is a little bit critical right now is currency, right?
Sure.
And I'm sure in the room a lot of people looked at crypto at one point, look at how it went up and down and the whole cycle. How do you see that affecting potentially your solution there?
So we actually spent a lot of time, resources, and also brought some very big names in the world of the monetary, global monetary experts, in order to make sure that the Quro is number one, is digital and not crypto for the reasons which I mentioned, also for the reason of very high use of energy when you're talking about crypto. So that's number one. Number two, in order to create a trusted currency, you have to make sure that the currency is stable. So our plan is to peg the Quro to euro. So 5 Quros are euro, very simple. Everyone can deal with that. And I personally don't want to become rich out of appreciation of currency. Right. We really want to fight climate change. Last and not least, in terms of the currency, we're going to develop a backup fund, a mega backup fund. That's one of the reasons why we're talking to the EU and also approaching the likes of the Norwegian sovereign funds, the like of Singaporean sovereign funds, is to create a backup fund in a way like banks have their reserves. So the fund will actually be the assets on which the Quro at the beginning is linked towards, and in that way you are creating the trust. Last part of the trust, and that's really important to mention, which is out of the currency, is that we're actually going to have an independent protocol committee headed by Gilad. He is the ex-Chief Sustainability Officer of Palo Alto, and he, together with international experts, institutions, the like of Rocky Mountain Institute, Stockholm Resilience Center, actually, they're going to create a protocol, hence the word protocol, that tells us as the operational company how many Quros will be paid for what kind of activity. And I want to give very, from that aspect, and talking also about economy, a very interesting angle. If you think about it, 1,000 steps in Riga, in California, in London, in Kenya, in India, are the same 1,000 steps. So we are creating an economy that is really equal all over the globe, regardless of where you're coming from, what is your education, your gender, etc., etc. We think that this is very powerful. Another example, our plan is to, at the very few first years, is to pay more, double, even triple, for kilowatt hours produced from renewable energy in areas where there is energy poverty, and that is 1.5 billion people on Earth, in comparison, for example, to Europe. So we're going to turn upside down, if you wish, the real estate of energy in order to make sure that you empower and you let those economies to develop fast and at the same time keep it all sustainable.
Great. We have a question, but I'll keep that for later because that's relevance to the end of our conversation. Am I right to say that this is all great on paper, but it's actually live now in Germany?
Absolutely. So it's about to become live. Yeah, next month. So we actually, in practice, started the operations in August. Mm-hmm. And as I said, an amazing team of hands-on because I really need that. I can talk a lot about the vision. And the team created a product which is ready to full testing in about 2 weeks. And we are going to a pilot with Zonen in Germany in March. So it's also very practical. And we're also talking to some of the large mobility companies in the world. So we're talking to Bird, to Lime, to smaller one like Donkey Republic bike sharing from Copenhagen. So there is very much hands-on and partners that are coming in. The reason why the partners are coming in is because we actually subsidizing their product to their customers, and then that makes their product much more affordable, so more people will use them without us going into their business model, and everyone is winning.
Okay, so make it real to people as well. Make it
absolutely
tangible.
It's tangible, it's real, and therefore Zonen, which is a really massive company, immediately reacted on that.
Great. How do you create, and that's one of the questions we discussed, how do you manage to create a change, such a change outside of Riga? And I'll actually link that to the first question that we received, which is how can you change people's mindset from a short-term thinking to a long-term thinking?
That's a fantastic question. So
thank you, Anonymous.
Yeah, that's a fantastic, and I will answer on both. So let me start with the question here.
Yeah.
In the matrix of important, non-important, urgent, non-urgent, climate change is important, non-urgent.
Right.
That's where it stands. How many of you really care about climate change? Raise your hand.
I do.
Oh, let's reverse it. Is there anyone here doesn't care about climate change?
Kill him right now.
Exactly. Now, everyone really cares about climate change, and at the same time, there are other urgent things that we have to do in our life. We have to take care of our food, on what are we going to do next month. And the other reason why people are not acting is because most of us think that we're too small to act on climate change. It's too big. I don't know how to do it. And the change of behavior is simply by saying, you know what? We will pay you to change your behavior. So just think about it, that if you start to change your behavior, and part of the things you're already doing, part of you came here by foot, part of you using a share mobility, so we'll start to pay you for that. And think that you can have an equivalent income of 100 euro, 150 euro per month per family to just change your behavior. So you will start to buy more sustainable proteins. You will start because you know that you are going to be paid, and that's the change that we are bringing. That's the big news that we are bringing.
That's the incentive version of it.
Totally. Okay. Now, about your question, I think this is a really important question, especially in this ecosystem, which is used to think in Latvian Baltic way of thinking. One of the things that I've been training myself through long time of self-realization and really goes inside myself is that there are no borders. If you have the vision and you have a purpose in life, there is nobody and nothing that can stop you.
Right.
And it doesn't matter where you're coming from, and it doesn't matter who you are. Look at the girl from Sweden, 16 years old girl, just went there to the UN and told all the politicians exactly what she thinks, and they embraced it. So our strategy is to go to very famous people, to bring on board very serious people. So we already have one of the co-founders of GitHub is on our board. And we have, as I mentioned, Gil Friend. We also have the chief scientist, a monetary policy of the Milken Institute, very important think tank institute from California on our board. And we are reaching out to more people now because there is no border to climate change, and there is no border to what we should do in order to create the impact and to make the change.
I want to address some of the questions that we have here, and one of them is the business case. Because we sort of talked about it, but we turn around a little bit. So what's the real business case here?
For ourselves,
to start with?
For ourselves, it's very simple. It's we are going to have a fee of 5% every time we issue a currency.
Okay.
Okay. The business case for humanity is if we take, for example, EU and the Vice Commissioner was sitting here. He's thinking, where is he going to bring 180 to 200 billion euro per year to invest in renewable energies? Mm-hmm. And it has to come from education, healthcare, etc., etc. So what we say to Mr. Dombrovskis is, why don't you just accept the Quro for tax purpose, and then 500 million Europeans on a daily basis, just by commuting, eating, recycling, will create for you an additional funds that pay for your taxes with them that you can then reinvest into sustainability.
Okay.
As simple as that. And then you keep business as usual with what you have to do with the funds that you have for your regular budget.
So we talked about, and you had a word that you just mentioned, which is also an important one. We talked about where you want to be in your global ambition. We talked about the system of the business case. We talked about the long-term vision. We haven't talked about the team, and there's one particular, because you got a stellar team of people, of course. You might want to talk a little bit about this, and don't forget Theo. I think is an important person.
Absolutely. So Theo is a 10-year-old boy from London, which I met with his family when he was collecting plastic bags in the beach of Tel Aviv instead of swimming. So then I just asked Theo to join the board.
So he's got an advisor of 10 years old. Isn't that cool?
And Theo actually came with an amazing idea of creating Quro Kids, which we are now working on. So we are going to include the next generation. And at the end of the day, we do it, yes, for ourselves, but mainly for the next generations.
Okay. So it's about education as well, right?
Absolutely.
About education as well. All right, let's close because we have literally 17 seconds left. Goal, timeline, call to action.
Goal is now to do the POC. We're raising 2 million euro for that. Timeline is June, July to start the POC. Mm-hmm. Call to action is just to join us. Accept the Quro, accept the ID. You have to digest the whole idea. It's a new story. It's a new story that we have to bring to the world.
Gilad, thank you very much. There's plenty more questions. I'm sure you can come and see Gilad after the show. He'll be happy to answer you. And I'll add something that you didn't say, but there is still fundraising. So if any investors in the room care about saving the world, talk to this gentleman, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much.